Hello friends, and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're going to make mini pancake muffin dippers. So what you see on my counter is what we're going to use to make this, and this was kind of born from my buttermilk pancake recipe that I have. What we're going to do with this is mix up the mix like I was going to make pancakes, but we're going to put it in little mini muffin pans, which I have one of these sheets that holds like 24 of those deals. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some chocolate chips, about 8 of them. We're going to put some blueberries in about 8 of them and have 8 of them plain since my pan holds 24. And once we get this going, you're going to have to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. They're going to be in there for 12 to 15 minutes. So you need about 1/4 of a cup of chocolate chips. They can be milk, they can be dark, whatever you want to put into that. And then you're going to need 1/4 of a cup of blueberries. So if you open up a fresh thing like I did, look at them as you're pulling them out. Make sure none of these have stems on them, because they will be in there with stems sometimes. Make sure there are none that have turned or gone bad. Make sure there's no green in there, because sometimes you will get green ones out. So just kind of look at them as you move and make sure you don't get any that shouldn't be used. And if you can, use smaller ones, because the smaller ones are going to set up a lot better in a mini muffin. And that way you don't have it overloaded by one jumbo blueberry. You have like a few littler ones. And once we get these all over and we have 1/4 of a cup, we're going to rinse these off, clean them off, make sure there's no debris on them, and then just pat them dry with a paper towel or whatever, just to make sure that they are clean and you didn't get anything that shouldn't have been in this pack. Always, when you get fruit, wash it. So we're going to go ahead and start out here. We are adding into a bowl 1½ cups of all-purpose flour. Then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of baking powder and 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to whisk this, because we really want to whisk it up to where we make sure that the salt and the baking powder gets evenly distributed through the flour. So if you had to do this for like maybe 30 seconds to a minute, do it. It's better not to have the salt or the baking powder all in one place and it really not mixed through really well with the flour, because we want to get it all through there before we add wet ingredients. So moving on to our next bowl. For our wet ingredients, we have 1 large egg. And we're going to whisk this just to break it up and make sure that it's evenly mixed before we add anything else to it. And once we get that done, we're going to move to 2 teaspoons of sugar. Now once you get this in, again, we're going to whisk. And once you get that mixed in, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And mix it up again. And we had 4 tablespoons of butter before that was sitting on the original counter, which we have softened up to where they actually are usable. So you can do this in the microwave if you want to just melt it down a little bit and mix it. And make sure everything in here is totally incorporated before we add this to the other mix. So what we're going to do is pour this in over top the dry once it's all mixed together. And we're going to mix this up a little bit here, because we're going to bring in some buttermilk to this as well. So go ahead with a whisk and move through this and just start the mix going together, because it's going to do a lot more once you add your buttermilk, but it helps to actually incorporate some of that flour into what you just poured into it. And then we have 1 1/3 cups of buttermilk. Now when you're putting your buttermilk into this, put a little bit at a time, mix it a little, add some more, because if you're mixing this up and it gets to a point where it's actually almost right and you still have a lot of buttermilk left, you don't have to add it all to it. So just add as much as you need. I found that about 1 1/3 cups usually does it for me. And then I get it all in there and whisk it up. If it's a little too dry at this point, you can always add a little bit more if you want to add another couple tablespoons to it. But just go ahead and mix it through and it should work really well. Now if you haven't preheated your oven to 400 degrees, go ahead and do it, because these are going to be in there for 12 to 15 minutes. So go ahead and keep mixing until everything is totally pulled together. Now we are not going to add our chocolate chips or blueberries to this the way it is, because we want these to all go in separately. So what we're going to do is, once this is really mixed, we're going to put this into the little muffin tin, and then we're going to actually put in the chocolate chips or the blueberries when they're needed. So once you have your tin, if you have one similar to mine, just go ahead and spray it with some non-stick cooking spray and coat it really well, because sometimes, like if you put stuff like blueberries in, they really stick. Just go ahead and spray it as much as you need to. Even though this thing says that it's non-stick, I don't always believe that, because I have had some non-stick stuff stick, and it's just better to err on the side of, you know what, I did it even though I didn't need to. So go ahead and get that really coated, and then we're going to go ahead and start putting the batter into the little tins. Now, here's the thing. Each of these little holes, you know, count them out. We're going to do 8 of them for each kind of thing. So if you're going to do it this way, just go ahead and do 8 of the little holes, wait for it. Then we're going to put in chocolate chips. Come back, do another 8, add blueberries, and then come back and put another 8 in, which are just going to be the plain. So the best thing to do with this is once you get these filled up, then we're going to come in with like the chocolate chips at first, and we're just going to put in a few of them on each one of them. So I would say probably when you're doing this and you're putting these in, you could like pick out a certain number of chocolate chips you want to put in each one of these. So like with mine, I had at least 8 chocolate chips going into these because the chocolate chips are not huge, and that works. So just go ahead and do the same amount for each one, because as you get them in here and they're sitting on top, we're going to come back in a second, kind of push them down a little bit, and they're going to bake down into the muffin, which is perfect. That's what we want it to do. So just go ahead and get each one of these, like a whole stack of chocolate chips on top, and just watch how many you're doing. Now, if you put way too many of these in here, it's going to turn into kind of a mushy, icky inside, which is way too much chocolate. So that's why I said try to go for like a minimal of 8, no more than probably around like 10 or so, and you're going to be in good shape for the chocolate chips, because when these things bake up, they will distribute. So, and once these are in, we'll move on to the blueberry. So once that's done, I'm just going to go ahead and slide this down a little bit and start adding in the batter to each one of these. Now, when you're going to do the blueberries are like minimal size here for the ones that I picked out. So it's like you could probably use like around 6 or so of these on each one of them, because they're not huge. The best thing is when they bake up, they're going to kind of move around a little bit, but it's actually going to be enough for this mix. So just go ahead and fill each one of them up, and then bring in the blueberries. Now, when you're putting the blueberries in, these are kind of bigger than the chocolate chips. You want to push them down a bit into the batter. This is why we don't overfill the tin, so that way we actually have room for these. So go ahead and put as many as them you want into this, because like you can like come back and add more after it. If you want to start out with 4, start out with 4. If you want to do 6, do about 6, and it'll be fine. Because what you're going to do is just use up everything you had in that 1/4 of a cup. And just work your way through each one of them. Just remember to push them down a little bit, because that way as it starts to bake, it'll come up and then go around the top of them to a point where they'll still be showing a little bit, but they're not gonna like burn in the oven or anything like that. And once we get all of this done, we're going to move on and fill in the empty ones at the bottom of this pan, which basically there's going to be 8 spots for just regular. So, I mean, if somebody doesn't like chocolate chips or blueberries or whatever, they don't have to eat them. You can easily just, you know, give them the plain ones. But the way I was doing this is there's like a couple of each kind for whoever to eat on, so that way it's just a fair amount. So go ahead and just fill these to the top and make sure you get a decent amount in there. And after this, we're going to go for the oven, because, you know, it's going to be ready. If you haven't already, it should have been preheated to 400 degrees. Like I said, 12 to 15 minutes. Now, when I filled up my pan here, I had a little bit of this batter left. So what I did was take out a regular muffin tin and just make like a couple of those just for the sake of, because there was enough to make 2 muffins. And I just threw some chocolate chips into it. So, you know, you don't waste anything, because if you made this and you put the effort into it, you don't want to waste it. So once this is all done, we're going to put them into the oven. And as you can see, you've got a variety going here. And this is the great thing about it. It's not just one thing you're making. You turned it into 3, and that's great. And when it comes back from the oven, it's all baked up. It's ready to be used. Let it cool for about 10 minutes or so before you take them out. And be careful of the blueberries. They may have stuck a little around the top edge. And you're going to serve these on a plate, put some syrup into a little bowl, and then just bring out a couple of each of these. And this is just really great for a snack thing or a breakfast thing or whatever. And the best thing about it is, like I said, these things will distribute. So like as you can see with the chocolate chips, they're throughout the thing. And same thing with the blueberry. And that's the best thing about it. These really are wonderful, and they are really a great thing to eat for even a snack. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out the Southern Mountain Kitchen website, where you can get a free recipe, check out the cookbooks available from the Southern Mountain Kitchen, and if you'd like to, you could order a cookbook at a discounted price, cheaper than Amazon, with shipping that is also cheaper than Amazon. So if you get a chance, check it out, and I hope you have a great day.